Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant Horizon, watching the stars slowly drift past the main view screen. Her ship was 3 months into what should have been a routine survey mission in the Kepler 442 system. The crew of 147 men and women had been mapping potential colony worlds, taking samples, and sending regular reports back to Earth Command. It was peaceful work, the kind that let Chun sleep well at night. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," called out Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. Her voice carried that tone Chun had learned to recognize after 15 years in space. It was the sound of someone trying to stay calm while looking at something that didn't make sense. Chun walked over to Torres's station. The young officer had been with the ship for 2 years now, and she knew her job well. If Torres said something was strange, it was worth investigating. "What do you have, Lieutenant?" Torres pointed at her screen. "Unknown energy signature near the 4th planet. It's big, Captain. Really big, and it's not natural." Chun studied the readings. The energy pattern was unlike anything in their databases. It pulsed in a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat, but the signature suggested technology far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. "Dr. Webb to the bridge," Chun called into her communicator. Chief Science Officer Marcus Webb arrived within minutes. He was a tall, thin man in his 50s, with graying hair and eyes that always seemed to be thinking about 3 different problems at once. Chun had worked with him on 2 previous missions, and she trusted his judgment completely. "Captain?" Webb asked, adjusting his glasses as he looked at the sensor data. "Take a look at this." "What do you think?" Webb studied the readings for several minutes, his frown deepening with each passing second. "This is artificial. Definitely artificial. The energy output suggests a structure of massive size, possibly several kilometers across. But the technology, ... double quotes, he shook his head. "This is centuries ahead of anything we have. Could it be dangerous?" Chun asked. "Unknown. The energy pattern is stable, not building toward any kind of discharge. If I had to guess, I'd say we're looking at some kind of automated system, possibly a space station or research facility." Chun considered their options. First contact protocol required them to report any signs of alien technology immediately. But they were weeks away from the nearest human outpost, and by the time a proper first contact team arrived, another species might have claimed whatever was out there. Set course for the 4th planet, she decided. Yellow alert. All department heads to the briefing room in 30 minutes. The bridge crew acknowledged her orders, and Chun felt the familiar vibration as the ship's engines changed course. She had made thousands of decisions like this over her career, but something about this one felt different, important. 2 hours later, the Defiant Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the 4th planet. What they found took everyone's breath away. It was a ring. A massive ring of dark metal and crystal that could have easily fit Earth's moon inside its circumference. Strange lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that seemed almost like a language. Parts of the structure were clearly damaged, with entire sections torn away or collapsed, but other areas hummed with obvious power. "My God," whispered Dr. Webb from his position at the science station. "It's beautiful." Chun had to agree. Despite the obvious age and damage, the alien structure radiated a sense of purpose and intelligence that was impossible to ignore. Whoever had built this had been masters of engineering on a scale humanity could barely imagine. "Captain," called Torres, "I'm detecting atmosphere inside some sections of the ring. Breathable atmosphere. And there are what look like docking bays on the inner surface." "Any signs of life?" Chun asked. "Negative. No movement, no heat signatures, no communication signals. Whatever happened here, it happened a long time ago." Chun made her decision. Dr. Webb Prepare an away team. Full archaeological protocols. We'll take one of the shuttles and see what we can learn. For the next 6 hours, Chun watched as her people explored the alien structure. The away team found corridors lined with symbols that might have been writing, rooms filled with devices, whose purpose could only be guessed at, and most importantly, what appeared to be a central computer core that was still partially functional. Dr. Webb's voice crackled over the communication system, barely containing his excitement. Captain, this is incredible. We're looking at star charts that cover half the galaxy. Propulsion theories that could cut our travel times by 90%. And Sarah, there are mineral surveys here showing the locations of rare element deposits. That could power human expansion for the next 1,000 years. Chun felt a chill of warning run down her spine. Discoveries like this had a way of attracting attention. The kind of attention that could be dangerous. As if summoned by her fears. Lieutenant Torres called out from her station. Captain, 3 ships just decloaked off our starboard bow. They're not human. Chun spun to face the main screen. 3 sleep vessels hung in space near the defiant horizon. They were beautiful in their own way, all curves and flowing lines that suggested they moved through space like fish through water. But there was something predatory about their design that made Chun's military instincts start screaming. Open a channel, she ordered. The main screen flickered, and Chun found herself looking at an alien face. A creature was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue, marked with darker patterns that might have been tattoos or natural markings. Its eyes were larger than human eyes and completely black. When it spoke, its voice was cold and arrogant. I am Commander Vexhai of the Zephyrian Hegemony. You are trespassing in claimed space, humans. You will leave immediately. Chun kept her voice calm and diplomatic. Commander Vexhai, I am Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earthship Defiant Horizon. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. We had no knowledge that this system was claimed by your people. We would be happy to share our findings with you and work together to study this remarkable structure. Vexhai's expression didn't change. Humans do not work with their betters. You are barbarians who have barely learned to leave your own star system. This technology is beyond your primitive understanding. You have one of your solar cycles to leave this system. If you remain, you will be removed. The communication ended abruptly, leaving Chun staring at the blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew waited for orders. She could feel their tension, their readiness to follow whatever decision she made. Dr. Webb, she called into her communicator. How long do you need to download the critical data from that computer core? There was a pause before Webb replied. At least 12 hours for the basic information. 3 days for everything. Chun looked at the alien ships on her screen. They were larger than the Defiant Horizon and clearly built for war. But they were also vastly outnumbered by her crew, and humans had never been good at backing down from bullies. Begin emergency download procedures, she ordered. All non-essential personnel prepare for possible evacuation. And get me a channel to Earth Command. They need to know what we've found here. As her crew rushed to follow her orders, Chun continued to stare at the alien ships. She had the feeling that she had just made a decision that would change everything. For her crew, for humanity, and for the balance of power in this part of the galaxy. The question was whether they would know enough to see the consequences. Captain Chun stood in the cargo bay, watching as crates of research equipment and personal belongings moved toward the shuttle base. The evacuation was proceeding smoothly, but she could see the fear in her crew's faces. They trusted her, but they also knew they were in serious danger. Captain, Dr. Webb's voice came through her communicator. We've managed to download the star charts and the basic propulsion data. But there's so much more here. The mineral surveys alone could change Everything for humanity. Chun pressed the communicator button. How much more time do you need? 6 hours for the mineral data. Maybe 8 for the manufacturing processes. Captain, what we're looking at here could advance human technology by 200 years. We're talking about faster-than-light engines that don't require the massive power cores we use now. Materials that could make our ships 10 times stronger. Energy sources that could power entire colonies. Chun closed her eyes. 8 hours. The Zephyrians had given them 24 hours to leave, but she didn't trust Commander Vexhai to keep his word. The alien's tone had been too confident, too dismissive. He spoke like someone who had already decided what was going to happen. Keep working, she told Webb, but be ready to leave at a moment's notice. 3 hours later, Lieutenant Torres called out from her station. Captain, the Zephyrian ships are moving. They're taking position around us. Chun hurried to the bridge. The 3 alien vessels had spread out, forming a triangle with the defiant horizon in the center. It was a classic attack formation, designed to prevent escape. Open a channel to Commander Vexhai, Chun ordered. The alien's face appeared on the screen. His expression was even colder than before. You are still here, human. This shows either great courage or great stupidity. I suspect the latter. Commander, we are complying with your request. Our evacuation is nearly complete. We just need a few more hours to safely remove our people from the structure. Vexhai's black eyes narrowed. You lie. Our sensors show you are downloading data from the ancient systems. This is theft of Zephyrian property. The structure was clearly abandoned when we arrived, Sean said, keeping her voice steady. There were no territorial markers, no warning. Signals, by any reasonable interpretation of galactic salvage law. Humans do not lecture Zephyrians on law, Vexhai interrupted. His voice carried a threat that made the bridge crew tense. You will cease all data transfer immediately and surrender what you have already stolen. Chun felt anger building in her chest. She had tried diplomacy. She had offered to share their findings. She had even agreed to leave. But it was becoming clear that the Zephyrians had never intended to let them go peacefully. I'm sorry, Commander, but I cannot do that. The data we've collected is the result of our scientific research. We're willing to share it with your people, but we won't simply hand it over. Vexhai's expression turned ugly. Then you have chosen your fate. The communication ended. Seconds later, Torres shouted a warning. Energy spike from the lead Zephyrian. Ship. A brilliant beam of plasma shot across space, passing just above the defiant horizon's hull. The ship shook from the thermal shock, and damage reports started coming in immediately. Navigation array is damaged, reported Chief Engineer Rodriguez. We've lost our precision maneuvering capability. And Captain, we've got 12 injured in Section C where the heat pulse hit the hull. Chun gritted her teeth. The Zephyrians weren't trying to destroy them yet. This was a warning shot, designed to show their superiority and force surrender. But they had hurt her people, and that changed everything. Dr. Webb, she called into her communicator. Emergency evacuation. Get your team back to the ship now. Captain, we're in the middle of downloading the manufacturing data. Just give. Use 2 more hours, ... Now, Doctor, that's in order. Chun turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Park, what are our defensive options? Park, a young Korean woman who had graduated top of her class from the academy, checked her displays. Not good, Captain. Their ships are larger and more advanced than ours. Our shields might hold against 1 ship for a few minutes, but against 3... She shook her head. And offensive options? Our missile systems are no match for their point defense. Our railguns might penetrate their shields if we got close enough, but they won't let us get that close. Chun nodded grimly. She had expected as much. The Defiant Horizon was an exploration ship, not a warship. They had defensive systems, but they weren't designed to fight a superior force. Commander Vex High is calling again, Torres reported. Put him through. The alien's face appeared on the screen, but this time he looked satisfied, like a predator that had cornered its prey. Are you ready to be reasonable now, human? What do you want? Chun asked. All data you have stolen from the structure. All. Research notes. All records of what you found here. And you will submit to having your ship's computers searched to ensure you have hidden nothing. Chun felt her crew's eyes on her. They were waiting to see what kind of captain she really was. Whether she would fight or surrender. And if we comply, you will be allowed to leave. Eventually. That last word told Chun everything she needed to know. The Zephyrians had no intention of letting them go. They knew too much. They had seen the alien technology, recorded its location, and worst of all, they had proven that humans could understand and use it. I need time to consider your terms, Chun said. You have 1 hour, Vex High replied, and cut the communication. Chun turned to her senior officers. Options? We could try to make a run for it, suggested Park. If we dump all non-essential power. To the engines. They've damaged our navigation system, Rodriguez pointed out. We might be able to reach light speed, but we'd be flying blind. And they'd probably shoot us down before we could jump. What about hiding in the ring structure? Asked Torres. It's big enough, and the energy patterns might mask our signature. Chun shook her head. They know where we are. And they have 3 ships to our 1. They could just wait us out. Dr. Webb's voice came through the communicator. Captain, we're back aboard. But I managed to transmit a compressed data package toward human space before we left the structure. It'll take weeks to reach our nearest outpost, but at least some of what we learned here will survive. Chun felt a spark of hope. If the data reached Earth Command, at least humanity would know what they had found here. And they would know what had happened to the Defiant Horizon. Commander Vex High is hailing us again, Torres reported. This time, when the alien appeared on screen, his patience was clearly exhausted. Time is up, human. What is your decision? Chun stood straighter. She thought about her crew, about the families they had back on Earth, about the children who might never see their parents again. But she also thought about humanity itself, about the species that had climbed out of caves and reached for the stars, despite every obstacle in their path. My decision is no, she said clearly. We will not surrender our research, and we will not submit to having our ship searched. If you want what we found, you'll have to take it. Vex High's expression turned to one of pure rage. Then you will all die as examples to other humans who think they can defy the Zephyrian hegemony. The communication ended, and Chun knew there was no going back now. All hands, she announced over the ship's communication system. This is the captain. We are about to come under attack by hostile alien forces. All crew to emergency stations. Prepare for battle. As alarms began sounding throughout the ship, Chun looked out at the stars one more time. Whatever happened next, at least humanity would know that Captain Sarah Chun and the crew of the Defiant Horizon had not gone quietly into the dark. Admiral Jackson Hayes stood in the command center of Proxima Station, staring at the message display with growing anger. The emergency beacon from the UES Defiant Horizon had reached them 3 hours ago, followed by Dr. Webb's compressed data transmission. What he was reading made his blood run cold. Hayes was a big man in his 60s, with gray hair and scars on his hands from the Centauri border wars. He had been fighting humanity's enemies for 40 years, and he knew the look of trouble when he saw it. This was bigger than trouble. This was a disaster waiting to happen. How long ago was this transmission sent? He asked his communications officer. 3 weeks, sir. The beacon signal shows the Defiant Horizon as under attack by hostile alien forces. No further communication since then. Hayes studied the star charts Dr. Webb had managed to transmit. The alien technology described in the data could change everything. Faster engines, stronger materials, energy sources that could power human expansion across the galaxy. But more importantly, 847 human lives were in danger. "Get me Fleet Command," Hayes ordered. "Priority Alpha." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the face of Admiral Morrison, Hayes' superior and oldest friend. They had served together on 3 different ships before Morrison was promoted to Fleet Command. "Jack, I just saw the reports from Kepler 442. How bad is it?" "Bad enough," Hayes replied grimly. "Unknown alien species called the Zephyrian Hegemony has taken hostages and is claiming territory in our exploration zone. They've got Captain Shun and her entire crew." Morrison nodded slowly. "What do you need?" "Everything you can spare. This isn't just a rescue mission. Tom, if these Zephyrians think they can attack human ships and take our people hostage, we need to show them they're wrong. Otherwise, every exploration vessel in deep space becomes a target." "Agreed. What's your plan?" Hayes turned to the tactical display, showing the Kepler 442 system. Task Force Retribution. 12 ships, heavy assault configuration. The cruiser Vengeance as flagship, destroyers Hammer and Anvil, the stealth frigate Shadow's Edge, and 8 assault vessels, plus the 1st Colonial Marines Alpha Company. Morrison raised an eyebrow. "Alpha Company?" "Jack, those boys haven't seen action since the Titan Rebellion. Are you sure you want to wake them up for this?" Hayes smiled grimly. Alpha Company was legendary in military circles. They were the Marines you called when everything else had failed, and you needed someone to do the impossible. They had earned their reputation in blood during the darkest days of humanity's expansion into space. If Captain Shun and her crew are still alive, they're going to need the best. And if they're not ... double quotes, Hayes let the sentence hang in the air. "Understood. You'll have your task force in 72 hours. And Jack, bring our people home." The next 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Ships converged on Proxima Station from across human space. The Vengeance arrived first, a massive heavy cruiser built for one purpose: destroying anything that threatened humanity. Her railguns could punch through asteroids, and her missile batteries could level a small moon. The destroyers Hammer and Anvil came next, smaller but faster, designed to hunt down enemy ships and tear them apart with precision. Strikes. The stealth frigate Shadow's Edge slipped into the formation almost unnoticed, her advanced cloaking systems making her nearly invisible to most sensors. But it was the arrival of Alpha Company that really got everyone's attention. The Marines came aboard their transport ships in full battle gear, their faces grim and ready for war. These were men and women who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions humanity could offer, and they looked like they could take on the entire galaxy if necessary. Colonel Sarah Martinez, Alpha Company's commanding officer, met with Admiral Hayes in his ready room. She was a small woman with dark eyes and the kind of quiet confidence that came from surviving things most people couldn't imagine. "Admiral, my Marines are ready. What's the situation?" Hayes showed her the intelligence reports. "Unknown alien species has taken hostages. They've got superior technology, but unknown numbers. We go in fast and hard, rescue our people, and show these Zephyrians that attacking humans comes with consequences." Martinez studied the tactical data. Rules of engagement? Whatever it takes to bring our people home safely. After that, we make sure this never happens again. Meanwhile, in the Kepler 442 system, the situation aboard the Defiant Horizon had gone from bad to worse. The Zephyrians had disabled the ship's faster-than-light engines with a targeted electromagnetic pulse, then forced their way aboard. Commander, Vex-High now controlled most of the ship, with the surviving humans trapped in the heavily armored sections near the engineering decks. Captain, Chun crouched behind an overturned table in Engineering Section C, listening to the sound of Zephyrian soldiers moving through the corridors above. They had been fighting a running battle for 3 weeks now, using their knowledge of human ship design to stay one step ahead of their captors, but the cost had been terrible. 37 of her crew were dead, executed by Vex-High as examples, when they refused to reveal the location of the hidden data cores. The Zephyrian commander seemed to enjoy killing humans, treating it like some kind of sport. Captain, whispered Chief Engineer Rodriguez from his position near the fusion reactor controls. The modifications are almost complete. If your rescue fleet shows up, we can give them one hell of a surprise. Sean nodded. Rodriguez had been working on his project for 2 weeks now, quietly modifying the ship's power systems, while the Zephyrians focused on hunting down the remaining crew. If it worked, it might be enough to turn the tide. How much longer? She asked. 6 hours, maybe 8. The hard part is making sure they don't notice what we're doing until it's too late. Dr. Webb crawled over from his position near the emergency medical station. Captain, I've been monitoring Zephyrian communications. They're getting impatient. Vex-High has been ordered to finish this and return to their home territory. I think they're planning something big. As if summoned by his words, Vex-High's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Attention humans. You have hidden from us long enough. In 6 of your hours, we will begin executing 10 prisoners every hour until you surrender. Starting with your youngest crew members. Chun felt ice in her veins. The Zephyrians had captured some of her people during the initial assault, including several officers barely out of the academy. She couldn't let them die for her decisions. Captain, Rodriguez said quietly, if they start killing our people, ... I know, Chun replied, but we can't give up. If help is coming, it'll be soon. Dr. Webb got that transmission out. Earth Command knows what happened here. She looked around at her surviving officers. They were exhausted, scared, and running out of options. But they were still fighting, still believing that somehow they would get through this. Listen to me, she said. We've held out for 3 weeks against superior numbers and technology. We've shown these aliens that humans don't break easily. Whatever happens in the next few hours, remember that we did our duty. We protected valuable information that could help all of humanity, and we never stopped fighting. Above them, in the command center he had claimed as his own, Commander Vex-High studied the tactical displays showing human space. Soon, his superiors would send more ships to this system to claim the ancient technology permanently. The humans would be forgotten, just another primitive species that had reached too far and paid the price. But deep in the outer system, sensors that no one was watching detected the first ripples in space-time that meant ships were dropping out. Of faster-than-light travel. Ships that were moving very fast and heading directly for the 4th planet. Admiral Hayes had arrived, and he was not in a diplomatic mood. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the tactical display as Task Force Retribution moved through the outer edge of the Kepler 442 system. 12 human ships, moving in perfect formation, their weapons powered and ready. For war. Stealth reconnaissance complete, Admiral, reported Commander Blake from the Shadow's Edge. 3 Zephyrian vessels in orbit around the 4th planet. They have the Defiant Horizon trapped between them. Our sensors are detecting human life signs aboard the captured ship, but the numbers are not good. Hayes felt his jaw tighten. How? Many? 394, sir. Down from the original 847. Nearly half the crew was gone. Hayes had seen the reports of Zephyrian executions from Dr. Webb's transmission, but the reality hit him like a physical blow. These aliens had been systematically murdering human beings for 3 weeks. What about the alien ships? He asked. Standard formation around the captured vessel. They're not expecting an attack. No additional security patrols. No early warning. Systems. They're acting like they own this space. Hayes nodded grimly. The Zephyrians' overconfidence would be their undoing. They had no idea what was coming for them. Admiral, called his communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Zephyrian ship. They want to talk. Put it through. Commander Vex High's face appeared on the main screen. The alien looked even more arrogant than he had in Dr. Webb's recordings, if that was possible. His black eyes showed no emotion as he spoke. I am Commander Vex High of the Zephyrian hegemony. You are the human military, I assume? You have come to negotiate for your captured people. Hayes kept his expression neutral. I am Admiral Jackson Hayes of the United Earth Fleet. I'm here to collect my people and my ship. Vex High's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. You are in no position to make demands, human. We hold your ship and your crew. If you wish them returned, you will agree to our terms. What terms? Complete withdrawal of all human ships from this sector. Recognition of Zephyrian sovereignty over this system and all systems within 50 light years. And payment of compensation for our time and effort in dealing with your criminals. Hayes looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at the screen with expressions of barely controlled anger. They had all read the reports. They knew what the Zephyrians had done to the Defiant Horizons crew. I have a counteroffer, Hayes said calmly. You have exactly 60 seconds to release all human prisoners and surrender your ships. After that, things get unpleasant. Vex High actually laughed. You threaten us? Your primitive vessels are no match for Zephyrian technology. We destroyed your exploration ship easily. We will do the same to your war fleet. 50 seconds, Hayes replied. The alien's expression turned ugly. Very well, since you will not. Be reasonable. I will demonstrate Zephyrian superiority. Watch as we execute more of your people. The screen changed to show the interior of the Defiant Horizon. A group of human prisoners knelt on the floor while Zephyrian soldiers stood over them with energy weapons. Hayes recognized several faces from the crew files. Young officers who had trusted their government to keep them safe in the dark between the stars. 40 seconds, Hayes said, his voice like ice. Vex High raised his hand, ready to give the execution. Order. Any last words, Admiral? Hayes looked directly into the alien's black eyes. Yes, you should have let them go. He nodded to his tactical officer. Execute Operation Thunderstrike. What happened next took less than 30 seconds, but it felt like an eternity to the Zephyrians. The stealth frigate Shadow's Edge had been moving into position for the last hour, her advanced cloaking systems making her invisible to Zephyrian sensors. Now she struck like her name suggested, emerging from the darkness to launch a full spread of missiles at the nearest alien ship. The Zephyrian vessel's shields flared and died under the unexpected assault. Secondary explosions tore through its hull as the Shadow's Edge vanished back into stealth mode. At the same moment, the destroyer's hammer and anvil accelerated to attack speed, their railguns charging with enough power to level mountains. They had positioned themselves on opposite sides of the Zephyrian formation, and now they opened fire simultaneously. The railgun projectiles moved at nearly the speed of light, hitting the second Zephyrian ship before its crew even realized they were under attack. The alien vessel's shields held for exactly 2 seconds before the metal slugs punched through them like tissue paper. The ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the entire system. Commander Vex High stared at his tactical displays. In shock, 2 of his ships were gone, destroyed in seconds by weapons that should not have been able to penetrate Zephyrian defenses. His remaining vessel, the Dominion's Fist, was alone against an entire human fleet. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our technology is superior. Our shields are impenetrable." His tactical officer looked up from his station with terror in his alien eyes. "Commander, their weapons are using kinetic energy at relativistic speeds. Our shields are designed to stop energy weapons, not solid projectiles moving at light speed." Vex-High spun toward the communication console. "Human Admiral, I demand you cease this attack immediately. We have hostages. If you continue, we will kill them all." Hayes's face appeared on the screen, and Vex-High was surprised to see no anger there, just cold, professional determination. "You should have thought of that before you started executing. Prisoners, you had your chance to do this the easy way. We still have your people." Vex-High shouted. "We can destroy your ship. Go ahead," Hayes replied calmly. "Try it." Vex-High hesitated. Something in the human's tone warned him that this was a trap, but he couldn't see how. The Dominion's Fist still had its weapons. They could still destroy the captured human vessel and everyone aboard it. "Fire on the human ship," he ordered. His weapons officer shook his head. "Commander, I'm reading massive energy spikes from their vessel. If we fire on them, the explosion will destroy us as well." Deep in the engineering section of the Defiant Horizon, Chief Engineer Rodriguez smiled as he watched his improvised weapon come online. For 3 weeks, he had been quietly rerouting power from non-essential systems into the ship's main fusion reactor. Not to overload it, but to create a massive electromagnetic pulse that would fry every electronic system within 10 kilometers dot. If the Zephyrians tried to destroy the ship, Rodriguez would trigger his device. The pulse would shut down their weapons and engines, leaving them helpless. It was a desperate plan, but it was better than letting his crewmates die without a fight. Captain Chun's voice came through his communicator. "Rodriguez, are you ready?" "Standing by, Captain. If they so much as twitch, I'll light them up like a Christmas tree." On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Hayes watched the final Zephyrian ship with the patience of a predator. He had positioned his fleet perfectly. The alien vessel was surrounded, outgunned, and facing weapons they clearly didn't understand. But he wasn't done sending messages. "Launch the boarding pods," he ordered. 12 heavily armored pods shot out from the human ships, each one carrying a squad of colonial marines from Alpha Company. The pods were designed to punch through enemy hulls and deliver troops directly into the heart of enemy vessels. Commander Vex-High watched in horror as the human pods slammed into his ship's hull like hammers. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the Dominion's Fist as humans began cutting their way inside. "This is Colonel Martinez," came a voice over the communication system. "Alpha Company is aboard your vessel. Surrender now, and you might live to see tomorrow." Vex-High looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. Everything had gone wrong so quickly. One moment they had been in complete control, and the next their fleet was destroyed, and humans were cutting through their ship like it was made of paper. "How?" he whispered. "How did primitive humans defeat superior Zephyrian technology?" Admiral Hayes heard the question over the open channel and decided to answer it. "Because you made one mistake, Commander. You thought technology was enough. You forgot that when you threaten our people, we don't just fight back. We fight to win, and we're very, very good at it." The sound of human Marines moving through Zephyrian corridors echoed through the communication system. Soon, Commander Vex-High would learn firsthand what happened when someone made the mistake of taking human prisoners. Admiral Hayes had promised to bring his people home. Now he was going to keep that promise and make sure the galaxy understood what happened to anyone who tried to stop him. Commander Vex-High sat in the detention cell aboard the Vengeance, his hands bound with human restraints, They were far stronger than they looked. Through the transparent wall, he could see Admiral Hayes approaching with 2 Marine guards. The human's face showed no emotion, but Vexhai had learned to fear that calm expression. A cell door opened with a soft hiss. Hayes entered and stood looking down at the Zephyrian commander. For a long moment, neither spoke. "By what right do you dare attack Zephyrian forces?" Vexhai finally demanded. "We were operating in claimed territory. You had no authority to interfere." Hayes pulled up a chair and sat down. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but carried the weight of absolute certainty. "You made it our business the moment you touched our people. We don't negotiate with hostage-takers, and we don't forget. This act of aggression will not go unanswered," Vexhai said, trying to summon his old arrogance. "The hegemony will send fleets to destroy your primitive worlds." Hayes smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Let them come. We'll be ready." 3 hours later, Hayes stood on the bridge of the rescued Defiant Horizon. Captain Chun had been treated for her injuries and was back on duty, though her ship would need months of repairs. Around them, human work crews moved through the corridors, removing Zephyrian equipment and restoring the vessel to working order. "Status report," Hayes asked. "We've rescued all surviving crew members," Chun replied. 394 out of 847. The Zephyrians executed the others over the past 3 weeks. Her voice was steady, but Hayes could see the pain in her eyes. "They'll answer for that," Hayes said grimly. "What about the alien technology?" "Doctor." Webb looked up from his workstation. "Incredible, Admiral. With the complete data we've recovered, we're looking at advances in propulsion, materials science, and energy generation that will change everything. The manufacturing processes alone could revolutionize our shipbuilding capabilities." Hayes nodded. "How long before we can put this technology to use?" 6 months for the basic applications. 2 years for full integration. "Admiral, with these advances, we could build ships twice as fast and 3 times as powerful as anything we have now." "Good. We're going to need them." Hayes turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to all Zephyrian frequencies. I want this broadcast across their entire territory." The officer nodded. "Ready to transmit, sir." Hayes looked directly into the camera, his expression hard as granite. "This is Admiral Jackson Hayes of the United Earth Fleet, speaking to the Zephyrian hegemony and all who receive this transmission. 3 weeks ago, your forces attacked a peaceful human exploration vessel, took hostages, and executed innocent civilians. This aggression has been answered." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your fleet in the Kepler 442 system has been destroyed. Your commander is our prisoner. Your territorial claims in this sector are hereby rejected. The species you call humans extend this singular warning to the Zephyrian hegemony and all who witness this transmission. We came to your space in peace, seeking knowledge, offering friendship. You chose violence against the innocent. You will live with the consequences of that choice." The transmission ended. Around the bridge, human officers went about their duties with quiet efficiency. But Hayes knew that every one of them understood what had just happened. Humanity had announced itself as a major power in this part of the galaxy, and they had done it in blood. 6 months later, Admiral Chun stood on the observation deck of the Kepler station, watching as construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's first deep space military stronghold. The station was built around the ancient alien ring, incorporating both human engineering and recovered alien technology. The transformation had been remarkable. The alien manufacturing processes had allowed human shipyards to work faster than ever before. The new propulsion systems meant human ships could travel farther and faster than any previous generation. Most importantly, the advanced materials meant human vessels could stand up to anything the galaxy could throw at them. Impressive, isn't it? Dr. Webb said, joining her at the observation window. Chun nodded. Hard to believe it's only been 6 months since we first found this place. The engineering teams estimate the station will be fully operational within another month. Docking facilities for 50 ships, manufacturing capabilities for advanced technology, and enough firepower to hold off a fleet. Chun watched as a group of human destroyers moved past the station on patrol. They looked different from the old ships, sleeker and more powerful. The alien technology had given humanity capabilities that rivaled the galaxy's established powers. Any word from the Zephyrians? She asked. Webb shook his head. Complete radio silence since Admiral Hayes's broadcast. Our scouts report increased. Military activity in their home systems, but no movement toward human space. They're scared, Chun said with satisfaction. Good. Maybe they'll think twice before attacking another human ship. On the other side of the galaxy, in the council chambers of 6 different alien civilizations, ambassadors and military leaders watched recordings of the Battle of Kepler 442 with growing concern. The humans had appeared from nowhere, destroyed a superior force with devastating efficiency, and claimed territory in one of the most strategically important sectors of local space. Their weapons technology is remarkable, observed Ambassador Krex of the Altarian Republic. Kinetic projectiles, at relativistic speeds, simple but devastatingly effective against energy-based defenses. More concerning is their tactical coordination, added General Thirok of the Centauri Alliance. They moved 12 ships in perfect formation, struck simultaneously from multiple vectors, and achieved total victory in under an hour. This suggests significant military experience. The question, said Prime Minister Veltar of the Andromedan Cooperative, is what they intend to do with their new capabilities. The answer came 3 weeks later when human diplomatic missions arrived at every major government in the local sector. The message was simple and direct. Humanity was open to peaceful relations, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. But they would not tolerate aggression against human civilians or interference with human exploration efforts. Most governments accepted the human proposals eagerly. The technology demonstrations that accompanied the diplomatic missions made it clear that humanity had become a force to be reckoned with. Trade in human-manufactured goods began flowing immediately, with alien governments eager to access the advanced materials and energy systems humanity could now produce. The Zephyrian hegemony remained silent. 1 year after the rescue of the Defiant, Horizon, Lieutenant Sarah Park stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. She was no longer a junior tactical officer, but a full commander, promoted after her service during the Kepler crisis. Commander, called her sensor operator, we're receiving a distress signal from the exploration vessel Pioneer. They're under attack by unknown vessels in the Vega system. Park didn't hesitate. Set course for Vega, maximum speed. Signal the fleet to follow us in. As the Retribution accelerated toward another crisis, Park thought about Admiral Hayes's words from a year ago. The galaxy had learned that humanity protected its own. When they were pushed, humans didn't just push back, they pushed through. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency around her. They were ready for whatever they would find in the Vega system. After all, they were human. They had proven what that meant when someone threatened their people. And the galaxy was still learning to respect that lesson. In his retirement home on Earth, Admiral Hayes watched the news reports of humanity's growing influence among the stars. New colonies were being established. Trade networks were expanding. The human fleet grew stronger every month. But most importantly, no human ship had been attacked by hostile aliens since the Battle of Kepler-442. Sometimes, Hayes reflected, the best way to ensure peace was to make absolutely certain that everyone understood the cost of breaking it. The Zephyrians had learned that lesson the hard way. Now it was the galaxy's turn to decide whether they wanted to be humanity's friends or join the Zephyrians in learning why that was the smart choice.